You know, it's funny. The fact that you have a smartwatch on your wrist and you say nothing fancy is hilarious.
So I had dinner last month with the president of KWRI. He took a bunch of us up to dinner. I got to sit right next to him. And he's a very frugal guy, like he's known. He's really into investing and building wealth. He runs the Facebook KW Wealth Building Mastermind group. He has for years. Really neat guy. And he started telling me about his watch. He bought an $18,000 Rolex, which was totally unlike him. He told me the story that when his wife got him an Apple Watch, he made her take it back. He's like, I don't need it. I don't need that. I don't need that. Wow. And so he told me the whole story of how he got to the point where he bought this very expensive watch. He showed me what it meant to him. And I said, but can it do that? But I could button lit up.
Your Casio, that's right.
And it probably can't do that.
No, it can't do that.
But
It looks gorgeous. It looked gorgeous.
Rolex is appreciated.
I was just gonna say, the Casio isn't depreciating.
Yeah, if I had bought a Rolex 10 years ago.
Yeah.
Father would say you want time, same time as your.
That's true. I agree.
But 20 years from now, you'll be able to sell your Rolex for a lot.
Well, the funny thing is, like, the reason I haven't ever done anything like that, in part is because I'm pretty frugal and I'd rather like invest the money. But I have a Tom, which is a, you know, like a
Those are great.
nice watch. It's not nearly like Rolex, but I don't wear it. I don't really wear it. So I'm like, well, if I had a Rolex, I wouldn't even really wear it.
Yeah.
So,
I got a
Probably
Hamilton, I got a
would.
Hamilton aviation watch the same way. I don't wear.
Yeah.
I mean, I have a $1,500 watch that I don't wear, so I go buy a $10,000 watch.
My grandbrother David got me a really nice Mont Blanc pen, like a really nice pen, and I find that I never take it anywhere because I'm so afraid that I'm gonna lose it, right?
Yeah, that's part of the thing with like nice watches. Yeah, I've stopped buying expensive sunglasses.
Yeah, what's
You know, I broke into Maui gyms while I broke.
What happened?
$200.
Hey, man, got too hot.
Yeah, you're
Jeremy gave me a complex. I managed to
I go to REI.
now I feel like I'm waiting to be Santa Claus here soon.
Oh, man.
All right, let me make sure my ringer's on.
Who are we missing?
Oh, I spoke with Gina
Lynette,
this,
you called me, I never called you back.
I spoke with Gina this morning.
You know what?
I don't have anything.
She had a closing.
Well,
meeting.
yeah, that's okay. I figured you
I will
probably.
catch her up.
Be late, Karen, her father passed away.
Oh, no.
Who's it?
Karen Foster's.
Oh, my
Oh,
gosh.
no.
She doesn't actually be here.
I was gonna say, that's a
I think we sent her
Good
out.
reason to not be here.
So then everybody else is here.
Yes, sir.
All right, how are you guys doing?
Good.
Good.
Ourselves or our
You
business?
look every time I see you.
Yeah, I look different.
Are you running from the law?
No, I mean, I don't think so. It's a possibility. Maybe
He
in
was
some
running
other
from
countries.
Recognize you.
He was running from the law, he'd be in a ghillie suit.
Few South American countries, maybe.
Maybe like, you know, whatever age male last seen this direction, I'd be like, this guy's only about 25.
Yeah.
Yeah, look at a lot younger.
Yes. So, all right, then thanks for being here. So does it feel good to start doing this in person again?
Yeah, I'd
Yeah.
rather go in person. So we
Me
get
too,
something done.
so. All right, so our little,
Karen,
I'm so sorry to hear about your father.
thank you.
Welcome. You look good. Yeah.
I'm not, but showings, you know, I had some showings.
Okay. But yeah, it's not, you don't have to.
Yeah, it's okay. Okay, thank you.
Okay, so our leadership lesson today, we're still working through this book. And I wanted to talk about you guys today, the law of the inner circle. And so John Maxwell opens the chapter talking about professional cycling. And funny enough, I don't know what year this book was actually written, like 2006 or something. He's talking about Lance Armstrong, the professional cyclist, who ended up maybe having some character flaws that we learned. You know, and I was a fan of his back, like, you know, following cycling. Like, I remember that. Why?
Everybody was. That's why everybody got so pissed off.
Well, yeah.
Wristband and everything.
Yeah. So,
Man, this guy's
but the
43 years
point-
old. What is-
The point is still valid in the book, which is, so think of a sport like professional road cycling, right? You know, person on a bike, man or woman on a bike racing, right? And the fastest one wins. And it actually is really a team sport. A lot of people don't know that. So there are people that get in the way and you know, break the wind so that the person can draft behind and save energy and then win at the last minute. And there are people that specialize in climbing over Alps or time trialing or different parts of cycling. So once you really start to pay attention to the sport, you figure out that it's actually a team, it really is a team sport. And they have these people on the team, you know, in cycling, but actually in French, they're called domestiques. What does that mean?
What did you know?
A domestique.
Domestic.
Domestic,
There you
a
go.
servant, and then they're helpers. They'll go drop back to the car to get the water bottles and come back up, and they just are working the whole race to try to keep that one person, you know, so they can win. But the point was that it really is a team sport, and it was the people that were on the team, the people that were on Lance Armstrong's team when he won like his last tour that he won, they went on to win major races themselves. So the helpers were great leaders and were great athletes even in their own right. And he also talks about that, like in the 80s, there were buzzwords in business, you know, that books that were written and speakers and things talked a lot about management in the 80s. And even before that, like a lot of Peter Drucker's books and stuff were all about management. If you listen to or read old, like Warren Buffett stuff too, he talks a lot about business management of business. And then in the 90s, it became about leadership. And then in the 21st century, the emphasis is really on team leadership. You know, it's having teams and leading teams. And the idea is that nobody does everything well. Have you ever found somebody that does everything well?
Okay. I'm just kidding.
That is probably true,
She's close, but yeah, she's close.
That's a nice compliment.
or at least in comparison.
To comparison to me, she does a lot better.
Everything's
Are you in
relative.
trouble trying to make something up?
No,
You need to buy roses on the way home.
I'll be careful.
She doesn't even like flowers, dude. Perfect.
Hey, she doesn't like flowers, it's perfect.
She helped me with a command thing the other day. So, but you know, generally nobody does everything well. So we all have strengths and weaknesses, and we can go farther when we build a team around those weaknesses. So thinking about that cycling team analogy, or think about other sports analogies, like a football team. You know, not everybody is really good at blocking or tackling or throwing or running or kicking, you know, or punting. So there are all those different things. And then there's the Mother Teresa quote on page 129 that I've read before and love. You can do what I cannot do. I can do what you cannot do. Together we can do great things. And I think that's true. He also said that, you know, when he boils leadership down, so thinking about the title of this book, the how many irrefutable laws? 21. He says, you know, when I boil leadership down to its essence, I still see 21 things that leaders must do well to lead effectively. However, at the same time, I also recognize that no single leader can do all 21 things really well. And that's why every leader needs a team of people around them. So he asked, who are you drawing into your inner circle? We naturally tend to surround ourselves with either people who we like or people with whom we are comfortable. Few people give enough thought to how those closest to them impact their effectiveness or leadership potential. And he has a few questions you can ask of yourself. So if you can answer yes to these questions, then they are excellent candidates for your inner circle. And think of what this might look like for you as an agent. Could you have your own little board of directors?
Mm-hmm.
Could you be this for one another? Do you call each other to mastermind or brainstorm things, or how are you doing this, or how are you doing that? What are you seeing in the market? So the first question is, do they have high influence with others? So one key to successful leadership is the ability to influence the people who influence others. The next question is, do they bring a complementary gift to the table? So Morgan, you joked about Katie earlier, but there's a great example, right? Like knowing you both, you know, would she want to go do what you do all day?
No.
Would you want to, or could you sit and do what she does really well all day? Right? So there's a complementary gift, you know, and therefore you were invited into her inner circle.
Sounds a little weird.
I've never heard it called this before, Scott.
She said yes. So, but you know, because John Maxwell writes, because of my leadership gifting, I naturally attract leaders, and I am also highly attracted to leaders. It's said of great baseball hitters that they get together with other good hitters. They all sit around talking about hitting. So it's similar with good leaders. And then he gave the analogy of radar on MASH. Do you remember that? How
Yeah.
he was totally organized and helped the current, he just knew where everything was and just had every piece of information. And then the third question is, does the person hold a strategic position in the organization? And the fourth question is, do they add value to me and to the organization? So he talked about, remember we talked about the law of addition one month, and that the people in your inner circle must be adders or multipliers. And then, the idea is then identify, cultivate, and recruit. So there is one more question you need to ask about potential inner circle members. I did not list it as one of the 5 questions because a yes in answer to the question does not automatically mean they should be in your inner circle. However, a no would definitely mean they should not. The question is, do they display excellence, maturity, and good character in everything they do? And that's an important one, right? When we think about that. There have been really, really talented people I've looked at for leadership over the years and couldn't answer yes to that one. Where there were, we've seen that, right? I'll tell you where an interesting place to see some of that stuff show up is late at night at family reunion, watching people, what they're doing with their free time and what they're doing at the lobby bar and
Wearing their KW
right.
shirts and.
Yep.
Yeah.
And I have, ruled out, candidates and things from that sort of thing. So it's an important part of it. So, all right, any thoughts or questions about the law of the inner circle?
I think it's great, and I totally agree. It's good to have variety within a group because we don't all have the same skill sets. Right. And it makes for less friction when you have that because right. You don't have that competitive feeling.
Right.
Everybody kind of knows their role, and most of the people that are in leadership are probably Ds or
yes.
close to
Often,
it,
yeah.
and they like that, I think.
Yeah, I agree. Thank you.
I think you see in a lot of leadership organizations too, though, when a leader leaves, he'll pull a lot of those people with him when he goes somewhere else.
It can happen.
I see it even in the military.
Yeah.
I got transferred down here and I pulled 3 people from where I was to work, for me because I knew who they were and I knew what they could do.
Right. Yep. We're watching that right now at the highest level of Keller Williams. So Gary Keller hired this guy named Carl Lieber, who had a really awesome pedigree of corporate leadership from Home Depot and USAA and a couple of other companies. And I watched him. Gary hired him. And then very quickly, this person has assembled an amazing team around him. Like, I can see that we're getting ready to go public. Like, that's pretty obvious to everybody at this point. He's pulled in, the new head legal counsel is somebody that came from a big background with like publicly traded companies. And they brought in a new internet guy that's, anyway, you look at the level of talent and then when you find out, a lot of them he's worked with in the past at other companies, USAA or Home Depot or something like that. And they came in to KW now to build KWX and get it ready to go public, I think is what's happening. So great example.
Yep.
Great example. So, I'm still learning how to beg Sharon to come here with me.
Well, the same thing though, same concept though, right? You bring in people that are going to perform and also in the leadership position, they have to think like you think without you there.
Right.
And that's really, you see it all the time.
Yep. That's true. I actually had an interview last week for a role with somebody that I've worked with in the past, and that was one of the things we talked about was how that person stepped in at a time when I wasn't there and a challenge came up. A challenge came up because I wasn't there, like I was away, and that was when somebody decided to create a challenge, and that person stepped in and handled it. And basically, I actually brought that up and thanked them. They knew like what to do and how to handle it without me there. Interesting. All right, cool. So one thing I wanted to do today is something kind of special and different. We've kind of talked about this before, but this time I'm really, really asking for your help with it. So I need some help. I am spread pretty thin right now. And I think, so I stepped in as the team leader here in November of 2019. That's hard to believe, but that means we're like almost at 2 years. And at the time, I didn't really have a plan or long term. I didn't set a deadline or anything. I just said, I got work to do. Let's go roll up our sleeves and do it. I had to recruit Jeremy. We had to hire a whole new team. I mean, the whole team's basically different at this point, And I feel like we've accomplished like at least much of. I knew what we needed to accomplish, right? I knew what we needed to get done. And we're kind of really getting there now. I had ideas about like having the agent count at 300. We're not that far away. 60 cappers. I think we're in the 50s now, believe it or not. We used to be in the 20s. We had like 25 cappers. Now we have like 52.
Love seeing those posts.
So isn't it fun to see? It feels like every week it's like there's some new capping, right? And some of them have never capped before.
Gives you that juice, man.
I think it's really been fun to watch. And
Some
some
of
of
that,
that,
the phone calls, like I called
Yeah.
them before the new ones. Like I just called them before the post goes out, and just hearing the excitement in their voices and stuff like that. I always say that we don't have a job without you guys being a partner with us, but I mean, that is one of my favorite things is not having to give you guys or take any money from you because that's what you guys work for every day. So,
and that was, when we made the one of the toughest decisions I've dealt with in business was this decision to lower our cap, because it now we're at a point where it's about $250,000 a year in revenue that's missing, you know what I mean, at this point. So it was certainly substantial. What's been really fun about it is it made it where it's easier for people to cap. So now the people that never capped are hitting it and going beyond it. So it shows, it's kind of like Roger Bannister in the 6 Minute Mile, right? That like nobody thought it could be that. They literally thought back then, or 4 Minute Mile.
Yeah.
If you ran a 4 Minute Mile, your heart would explode and you would die on the track. Like doctors believe that. He did it, and then shortly after he did it,
I'll get you some that.
can't take you guys anywhere.
What's in that Red Bull?
Shortly after he did it, all these other people came along and did it too. And so what's been fun to watch is now as people cap, I think it creates this whole new level of confidence for them, and they're going past.
we're up to 53.
Yeah.
Prior to the cap being reset, we were at 37.
And pride in the
Oh,
office.
we have that many? Oh, I didn't think we had that many.
But pride in the office, people see that and there's this,
Oh, I thought
it
it
gives
was
them
20.
that.
Motivating, yeah.
In November
Motivating
29.
to
No,
others.
okay, I'm sorry, yes.
When I first
Oh,
got
yes.
here, it was at like
25.
29, I think.
And then we lost a couple. Yeah, it was like in the mid-20s or something, I think, when I stepped in. So that was one of my goals, was getting to, 300 agents and 20% being cappers to 60 cappers. So that's been really fun to watch. And I think that will just continue now, is seeing more and more people cap. And that was something I got from a mastermind with Gary Keller. And he just said, it was a bunch of OPs, and he said, not enough of our agents are experiencing 100%. That's the magic of Keller Williams. I think he's right. And so I just looked at the numbers and the numbers for that MLS. That was part of how I made that decision. So we're there. I just feel like there's a lot of really awesome stuff going on. We're now, last month we were number 4 in the MLS. Month to date right now, I think we're number 5 in the MLS. So we'll see how the month closes out. But we're starting to float around in that, number 4 or 5.
Yeah.
And 2 of the offices are virtual companies that have agents.
500, 600
Yeah,
agents,
from
yeah.
all over 15 counties. So when you look at real standalone real estate offices, we're now getting to be in the top 3 or 4. We're the second Keller Williams office in the TMLS out of 7 or 8 market centers. So I feel like we've done a lot together, and I'm ready to, I've been looking for a team leader, but I'm more ready to really start finding that person now. Because I would like to get back. I feel like I'm not doing as good of a job as an OP, certainly for the South Carolina market centers. I'm not I'm not able to do what I need to there, and I feel like I'm not being an awesome team leader here. I feel like I'm not being awesome at anything because I've got so much going on. I feel like I can't be my best operating partner. I feel like I can't be my best team leader. Because I'm watching, like, there's a team leader in the region that's beating me right now. And I'm looking at her and I'm like, she's really awesome. I'm like, I think I can beat her, but that's all she does. You know, she is.
Yeah, that's her focus.
That's her focus, yeah. And I'm like, if I was just a team leader, I think I could beat her. But I've got other responsibilities and things keep coming up. Like I've spent the last Tuesday morning for the last month training team leaders from all over the world. Vietnam, Malaysia, South Africa. It's been fascinating. It's been really neat and fun.
That's cool.
So there are other things that are starting to pop up, and I'm saying no to a lot of them, you know. But I would like to find our next leader. You know what I mean? And I don't know exactly if that's a TL or a team, you know, a team leader, a co-team leader, an assistant team leader, but we're ready. We need another set of hands on deck, you know. And so I want to talk with you about who that is. Who do you think we need? You all are the leaders in the market center. Who do you think we need? What is that person like?
I think you gotta, I mean, really put it out there and maybe just try to, I think we need to know, like, identify the exact profile.
Yeah, you tell
You
me.
said
who am I
high
looking
D,
for?
but that could be a ton of people.
Do you have a
But
job
they have to be
description?
really organized too, right?
Do you have a job
So,
description?
Sort of.
Okay. I would probably start with that.
I saw a meme one day that said being a Cavaliers team leader is like running around, everything's on fire, you're on fire, and yeah, anyway, it's funny, but I do have a job description, but really, so the other thing that I've been asked to do, the reason I was in Austin last month is they've asked me to be on the faculty to go teach leadership fundamentals, so teach how to run a market center in regions all over the country now. So I'm going to be doing some traveling to do that. It's a 2-day class. And what we're teaching in that is actually a really simple role for the team leader. And, you know, we've had difficulty over the years with attrition, you know, or turnover in the team leader role, because it's a darn hard job. I mean, I've done it for 5-6 years now altogether, and it is a hard job, and it's a fun and rewarding job, and we're simplifying the role in an effort to change that, right? So the idea is that the market center should have a really good staff of people that effectively run the market center, right? They're doing what these guys do on social media and all these things, and getting the training count, getting the classes on the training calendar, all the stuff that the administrative team's doing. And the team leader really is doing just a couple of things, you know, leading that staff meeting in the morning. And in fact, the calendar we're teaching for that team leader is morning huddle with the staff, lead generation, lead follow-up, recruiting appointment, lunch, teach something. Could be an ALC meeting like this, could be leading a mastermind, could be teaching a class for 90 minutes. You know, it could be a panel interview, something like that. Recruiting appointment, and then an internal consulting appointment with somebody that's in the top 20%, and go home. That's what we're going to be teaching the team leaders all over the country. So that's the job. So it's somebody, and really, if you think about it, those 2 recruiting appointments are no different than the consulting appointment, in my opinion. I mean, I do all 3 every day, or not every day. I'd like to be doing all 3 every day. It's really the same thing. It's business consultation, right?
It's got to be somebody who's built a team. It's got to be somebody who's done a lot of business. It has to. I don't think you get the respect of other agents if they don't have that.
There are some very successful team leaders in our company that have never sold a real estate.
No, I understand that. It seemed, looking at the pattern of this market center, we've had team leaders who sold, but we've never had team leaders who really excelled, right? Been
Well,
there, done that.
And then what about, maybe it's just because I'm from Raleigh, but I think someone local. I really feel like we need somebody
Who knows this
local.
market?
Because the Raleigh Triangle market is a lot different than a lot of other markets. I think like when Bernadette was here, like I couldn't really identify with her.
Is that because she wasn't from here?
No, I think it's just because her experience in real estate was so different than mine. Like, so I had trouble connecting with her, right? And I'm not to say she's not a bad person. I think she's a great person.
I haven't sold real estate here.
Well, I mean, maybe that's
I've done
maybe that's
okay
what we're
as a
saying.
leader here. I mean, I've done, if we could hire somebody that did what we've done in the last 2 years, would we be okay with that?
Right, that's a
Yeah.
little, it's a little bit unfair, because like you did sell real estate in Colorado.
Right.
And you've done a tremendous amount of business, and you are deep in the wool with Keller Williams. You have a tremendous amount of experience with Keller Williams at each level, right?
So, and this is one thing I've gone back and forth with, and I'd like your input, is it, can it be somebody that's new to Keller Williams, or does it need to be, how we balance that? Because I came in, Sharon was there, I came in new to the role, new to the company, and it was a learning curve.
So back to local. Real estate in every market is still local, right? Like these big companies and Zillow are trying to make it not local, but it's always going to be local.
Yeah.
So if you're looking to sell a house inside the Beltline or sell a condo on Glenwood Avenue, you're not going to probably call me, right? Or you shouldn't.
That's a
call
living
me.
belief.
Right? I mean, I would do it. I mean, I'll do it. Okay. But like, there's probably other people that have more experience in that than me. So I think the team leader has to be a player in the market. Okay. They have to know.
Do they have to be one or become one?
I think people need to have, name recognition is important. Okay. In politics and business and everything. So in my opinion, so like when my dad told me or whatever, we talk about Keller Williams, like, oh, Scott Taylor's over there. He's the OP. I'm like, who the hell is Scott Taylor? I mean, I'm just saying, oh, well, he was in Colorado, this and that. And I was like, all right. And so it took, and then I met you and I really liked you, and it took a while, but we got there.
You like me a little more every time.
But so a player, meaning, so when they say, oh my gosh, or let's take Gina Van Menthuizen for example at Broad Creek. She's not a play. She was never a player in the market.
You knew her because of your Allen.
I knew her because of my connection to Allen Tate, and she was somewhat respected at Allen Tate, I would say.
But would anyone have known that name outside of?
No. But she looks the part.
She did a good job.
She did a good job. I mean, I've heard mixed reviews from other people over there, okay, about like, we don't ever know where she is, stuff like that. Because that's what I experienced at Allen Tate. I mean, I like her, good person. But so I think, and I'll shut up in a minute, but I think we've got to have somebody like, that's like you hear like Andy Ammons. I mean, he's not going to be a team leader. But you hear these names, these Johnny Morrissey, Tommy Fonville, like they're big time. They're not ever going to be the team leader, but someone like that much younger that's maybe in their 40s.
When they showed up in town at some point, wasn't there a day when nobody had heard of them?
Exactly. Yeah.
There's always a time when nobody's heard of you before they have.
Yeah, but see, some of these people have always been players, and I'm not like old school like my dad, like, oh, it's got to be like a good old boy network. It does not need to be a good old boy network. That's the problem. But it's got to be somebody that has experience. And so when they're recruiting agents,
can it be somebody who comes in and learns the market and becomes a player?
See, I look at it totally different. Coming up through, man, I've had tons of units that I've worked for, commanders, right? And a commander can totally change a unit from great to bad or from bad to great. So that person has to be an extreme talent manager. They have to be able to look inside of an organization and see strengths and weaknesses and be able to assess those strengths and weaknesses, exploit the strengths and work on the weaknesses. And also be able to have the ability to direct inside the organization where the market center is missing.
Sure.
I look at like, where can I affect, just on my level, right? I look at my little zone where I want to sell homes. Where are they selling homes, and where can I go take the biggest chunk out of it? Because that's where I want to go. So that person has to be able to analyze the market and go, okay, what are we missing as an organization? And how can I put that out there to all these teams and say, look, hey, we're getting beat here, we're getting beat here. Hey, you're missing something, maybe you ought to try this. Because it's directing the organizations to take the biggest chunk out of the market.
Sure, and I agree with you.
Hey, guys, Lynette's out of hand.
Oh, I'm sorry, I'm sorry.
She's out of hand, but.
I think it needs to be a business person. I definitely think it does, because everything you're describing pretty much is a business skill. I think real estate knowledge is important. I think it should be there, but you don't want a team leader who's thinking selling real estate. They're not selling real estate anymore.
Exactly.
Right.
They're not doing that anymore.
I will
So
say
they need
we've-
to be the next level.
We've brought in people in this role that have been successful agents, and it didn't work in this role.
I can see that.
So
Definitely.
in regards to Sarah and Rob, both of them were not big recruiters to themselves,
Right.
right? And then the last two team leaders we've had between Eric and Bernadette did not know this market. Eric knew Fayetteville,
They weren't the right people.
but that's what I mean. But
They never were the right.
But I think there
people.
has to be a happy marriage. I think there has to be a marriage between what you're saying and what you're saying. Someone who, and absolutely what you're saying, someone who knows how to run a business, because there's lots of agents who are very successful who are crap businessmen and women.
May I challenge your thinking a little bit and just see what you think? So I've been in 3 different markets, and I've been able to get good results in all 3, and I didn't know anybody when I set up the market. I literally didn't know. And Burlington was a tough one, because that was like a who's your mommy and daddy kind of small town. You know what I mean? Like people, where'd you go to school and who's
But I look at that
your
as,
mommy and daddy?
that's the leadership trait though. That's honestly the leadership trait of
Yeah.
going to be able to go into business and
Yeah.
be a talent manager,
Yeah.
be able to see the strengths and weaknesses of an organization, and how do you get it to where you want it, right? Because you got to have a plan to get there. And to do that, you got to be able to identify where the business is failing. And every business is failing. It may not be failing in a way we look at, hey, we're really failing here, but there's something we can work
Be
on
looking.
to be even better.
And I totally agree with you on that. And I also think another thought would be that when the person comes in, they're not going to know everything. There needs to be a transition period, and I know you're busy, but to get
Yeah, I
them
can do that.
onboarded the correct way, so that, couple of things, so they understand the business and they understand how you function, because like we were saying, you need somebody who can step into your shoes.
So they need to be open to training, and then they need to
Yes,
have the
I
training.
definitely think so. And a lot of evaluating between you and that person. And like you're saying, identifying the strengths and weaknesses, and how can we make this better? And how can we be on the same page? I think real estate knowledge is
I
necessary,
will say this
but
group right here has a big role in the success of that team.
I agree.
Because without the support of this group and the feedback of this group to that team leader, there's no way it's gonna work.
So what we're looking for is the person that takes this place to the next level. And the potential of this market center is probably north of 500 agents and being #1 office in the TMLS.
And how do you go from good to great?
Right. So if
Right,
you
so
take
that's-
this,
Really where we're at now, we're on the good side, but how do we go from good to great? And what does it take to get there?
and on a personal note, I mean, that's what I mean. I feel like I feel like I came in with a specific purpose in mind. And I feel like, I mean, if I'm to be honest, I don't think I'm the best person to get to our potential. I think I'm looking for somebody that's the best person to get to our potential.
Well, you got it back on track. I mean, it was like,
Right, I know.
start, and then you really were able to stabilize it and consistently
It
grow
was
it.
hard, and I'm not gonna let that ever happen again.
Right.
'Cause that was,
But I think, yeah, there's talent, and, I'll be devil's advocate to myself. Like, say it doesn't have to be local. Say it could be, there's so many people from up north moving down here. Why not talk to all the market centers from DC, Virginia, north, talk to them and say, hey, do you have any hot shots? Anybody that's moving south? And just, if their husband or spouse might be getting relocated, I just think you gotta go search for the talent.
Okay.
Or we could make some of those calls.
well, I want your help. I mean, this is what I'm getting at. I want your help, as we're thinking this through.
Yeah.
And, I mean, I'm not like, we're not gonna make a rush mistake, right? Like, I'm talking to you about this now because it's like kind of getting to be time, and, but doesn't mean we're gonna go just put somebody in the seat.
I think maybe to strategize on how to even interview that person. What are the right questions to be asking and what answers are you looking for? Because it really will tell you a lot about them, you know, and follow all the procedures of hiring. I mean, you know, get the references, talk to people about them because some people interview really well.
Well, I'll tell you
get
this,
surprises.
I mean, I've gotten it wrong a couple times, and I follow that process. Ask Jeremy. I follow our career visioning process to the T. I think you've been through it with me. And every time when I realize I made a mistake, I always come back. I always can look back and see where I made this. You know what I mean? The process actually showed it. I just overlooked it or something like that. But the process we have does work if we follow it to the T.
Well, I think you also have to really look at their motivations. Like what is that person you're interviewing? Like, what are they trying to accomplish? Like, are they really in this to grow the market center or are they in this to enrich
Is
themselves?
it
Well, we've seen that.
We've
I've seen that from the last one.
So
And
puts
Well, I wasn't here for the one
the,
before that, but you know,
Puts
the
the
vision of the
company
owners has to be the vision of the team leader,
yeah.
right?
It almost is a selfless job, and because we, like you guys just said, and I agree, we have the kind of the opposite experience.
right.
And so it does need to be somebody who's really focused on that job. That's why I think if you get somebody who's really like a seller and a player in real estate, so to speak, that's kind of.
They might have motives.
There could- I don't.
It has to be about you all. It has to be about
Yes, I think
the
it does.
agents. And that was something I thankfully learned quickly as, you know, early on as a team leader. I went into a great market center, a great culture, and I was taught that quickly. It really has to be about the agents.
But some people get burned out too.
That's
Okay,
exactly
so
what I was gonna get into.
I'm burned out from selling real. I've been, to be honest with you.
Have we got an opportunity?
No, I couldn't. This is not my job. You do not want me because I'll be looking for every motive possible to make money. Like I would be, honestly, that would be my
That's your
focus.
mindset.
Okay, so the issue is, like we're saying, like I've hit a point, and don't get me wrong, I'm still selling real estate, still can keep doing our thing. That's why Katie's kind of transitioned. She's the CEO, she's running that show. And so we've kind of dipped a little bit in sales because I think we're kind of going through a little bit of transition period, right? Now my focus is new construction, development, which I'm rolling with, you know.
So did you guys hear that? All you have to do is follow Morgan around. When he goes on a listing appointment, then knock on the door after he leaves and say, did he talk to you about how burned out he is?
Yeah. Yeah,
See
exactly.
those bags under his eyes?
But I don't want to do that. Like, so I think you have agents at a point, a lot of times they're like, okay, I've been doing this a while and I'm just ready for something different and exciting. And so
Well,
this is an
and
opportunity.
that is, I mean, I will share with you early on in it. I mean, I had kind of a weird journey of how I got to the team leader role. And early on, there was a temptation to go back into sales. And now I don't really think that way because I have so much fun doing this now that I understand it. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
So meaning like, it wasn't, I don't view it as like promotion or higher. I don't think there is anything higher than selling in our business. I think that is being a real estate agent is the pinnacle. And Gary Keller, I think, would agree. So team leader to me is just a different branch, kind of, if that makes sense. It's not above. I don't think it's a promotion. Yeah, it's like, and you're right. It's kind of sort of, for some people, they say this is what's next for me.
It's the next step
Yeah.
in the evolution of
Now-
maybe becoming an OP, you know, right?
In their personal growth. I will tell you this, like, as you're thinking of like being a team leader, the first time around I did it was like getting an MBA.
But
I wanted to learn how to be a business person. Being a team leader in Keller Williams taught me. That's how I learned how to be this business person.
do they have like a school that they go to?
Yeah, well, leadership fundamentals, then other classes, market center, financials.
It's almost like Keller Williams would have like a.
I wish there was a school.
Like to send them to.
Yeah.
They don't graduate. They don't graduate.
Well, and part of our problem as a company is one of the good things about Keller Williams is we're so entrepreneurial, and it's one of the things too, we're so entrepreneurial, we'll figure it out. I mean,
Right.
Sharon, remember I got hired and my OP left the country for a month and was like, I'll check in when I get back. And I was like,
That's what happened when I got hired, Scott left, and I was like, I'm out.
Well, that's what happens with leaders, right? I mean, because you can see when somebody steps in, again, it goes back to what she said, right? If they don't care about the organization more than themselves,
Right.
you're gonna lose really, really good people.
So put organization first.
I'll be honest, organization has to be as we say, right, in real estate, the client has to be the most important thing. If he's not, you're wasting your time.
Right.
In that role, the organization, what this
And we can
firm.
say agents too, right?
Yeah, well, that's what it is though, right? It's the agents is the firm. If that's not the top thing that they care about,
Agents are the coin
then
of a team leader.
Because when you build the agents, they will support that person.
yeah.
And they will love that person, and you will get unity like you've never seen unity,
Okay.
I feel like. I think that's important.
I don't know if this is pertinent at all to what we're talking about, but maybe you could take something from it, and but you might appreciate this. So, a young lieutenant, second lieutenant, he's in the Marine Corps. Dan Snyder, who's a builder in Raleigh, Snyder Hankins Custom Homes, been around for a long time. He was a retired colonel. Okay, so I'm real good friends with Dan and his sons. I kind of watched them grow up, and I was in the Marine Corps obviously a long time ago for 6 years. Okay, but 5.5 years. Well, I know that sounds like not much to you, but
Sounds like a lot to me.
but okay. But anyway, I've been friends with them, and his kids are incredible kids. Both his sons became Marine officers. Okay, his dad was a Marine. That's what they wanted to do. So he talked to me yesterday on the phone, right? And his name's Cody, and he just finished. He's going to be an infantry officer, which the training that infantry officers in the Marine Corps go through is extremely, extremely intense. I mean, it's big time. So he got to his unit, which is 3rd Battalion, 6th Marines at Camp Lejeune. And he's like, Morgan, this unit it's a mess. He's like, it's a mess. So this is his first experience. You're being trained as a leader, right? Through the military, and he's showing up to reality, right? So he's showing up to the office, essentially in reality. These are your troops. These are your guys. So he's going to be a platoon commander, right? Charge of 55, 60 guys, all right? So he gets there and he's like, yeah, some of the guys can't even like put their packs on. He's like, the packs are too heavy. He's like, they can't even, and I was like, ooh, man, that's, I've never dealt with like anything like that when I was in the Marine Corps. And so he's like, what do I do? He's like, how do I motivate these guys? He's like, they just don't look motivated. They just, I'm the new officer coming in, the new guy, and just out of college, right? And, so we talked about NCOs, non-commissioned officers, and how good they are. And I'm maybe talking foreign to most of you. Okay, but then he said, my men just don't seem to have it. I said, look, so I sent him a text. I said, the majority of your men did not have a good role model or good father figure. I said, that, in my opinion, is what most of them are looking for. Okay, these kids that joined the Marine Corps, they're not college graduates. They're looking for something that they don't have. Okay. I said they want to be led while keeping the boundaries of fraternization, et cetera. You know exactly what I'm talking about. Said you will be able to pick out your leaders, and regardless of rank or seniority, because that's always a big deal in the Marine Corps and Army. Seniority, put your weight behind those who strive to be better and who are natural leaders. Give them enough rope to hang themselves with without jeopardizing unit cohesion. Okay, and I don't know if that's. But that just goes to show, like, he's a new leader. So he's like you. He showed up to a mess. You were already OP, but you showed up to the mess. You've kind of got us back on track, right? And so that's what he's going to be working on. I basically told him to PT the hell out of him, which is like take him out, run him to death, take him on humps. He's got to be careful now. Back in the day, you could do stuff like that and get away with it a lot more than now. Now the companies and the battalions have certain training schedules that they are like Keller Williams, like, nope, can't do that. It has to be done this way. But I think
I have one comment on his stuff too.
that's fine. And so I'll stop in a second and you can comment. But I think
Are you guys gonna arm wrestle?
no, I'm not arm wrestling that guy. But anyway, I just think that that's what's happening here. So now we're trying to get it. You got to organize. We got to take it to the next level. So in order to do that, like we got to find the right person.
Well, I really do. I mean, my goal is to find the person. I want the person better at it than me.
And there may be a natural leader. So that's what my point back to this is like, there may be a natural leader somewhere, maybe not in this office, but maybe Burlington office, maybe somewhere around that is tired of selling real estate, that has been somewhat successful, maybe not selling 40 million a year or 20 million a year, but they're good and they're ready for the next step, but they may not be there as well.
I would be cautious, first on the last comment, is the person that's tired. Because the person that's tired, is he looking for that role because he's tired and he's looking for an easier way? Or is he really, 'cause the key is,
I'm not.
he's looking for the next
I'll
steps,
tell you
right?
this,
Right.
I called somebody 2 weeks ago, I needed to do a follow-up call, who's pretty talented, very talented actually. And the response was, I'm not looking for a job. My response was, perfect. I'm looking for somebody who's not looking for a job.
Right.
Right.
Mhm.
Like we don't want somebody that's tired, burned out.
See,
No,
I
it's-
disagree.
But back to the
That's
lieutenant thing.
Yeah.
Boy, I've dealt with a lot of brand new lieutenants. This dude's straight out of school. He does not know what that unit's been
Oh, I
through
know. Yeah.
and does not know the deployments some soldiers have been on. I would evaluate that person. I would be looking like, why are they not motivated?
Right.
What have they been drugged through, right? And again, assess the unit and the platoon sergeant who's running that.
Right. And his
That's the key right there.
is. I mean, that's the problem.
Well,
And so if their leadership's not good, because they're the ones that run the show. The officer doesn't do shit.
Right.
Okay, excuse my language. They don't do anything.
They don't.
Okay.
Do we have a swear jar?
Yeah.
What do you want?
He did
I don't
first.
carry cash, so we'll have to start some Venmo or something.
You guys are gonna end up paying for the Christmas party, huh?
Let me prepay this a little bit.
I'm just trying to figure out how to help you. But see, because I disagree. I'm not burned out. Like
Somebody who's looking for a regular
like,
schedule.
so I'm basically like, okay, I've got the real estate stuff going. I've been doing this since 2001. Okay, come on. Like, I'm ready for something different. Okay, it's been forever. All right.
It sounds like he's asking for it, doesn't it?
No, I'm not. And so I've opened the building company, opened the development company. So we've got seven
Well,
houses going on.
You are developing in your business and doing new things.
Right. It all fits in the same thing, but I've got to figure out a way to create listings because I see the listings are like,
So you can build
so
it.
I'm creating my own listings
Building them.
and I'm more excited about that.
Well, you've
I'm
seen
passionate about
Keller
it.
Williams is doing that too right now. We're starting to build new homes division and stuff nationally and training and stuff around that because we realize this is an issue.
Yeah, you sent me something on that, right?
I did.
Yeah, there's a class you could take. So, yeah, you don't show up to me as a person who's tired or burned out.
I'm just ready for something better, different, more
The
exciting.
next chapter.
That's what I'm saying. So like, that's who we need.
The
Somebody
next
that's like,
Right, that's gonna come in here, and well, that was how I showed up, like, I was so excited for the opportunity.
Right.
I mean, I just couldn't wait to get to the office every day, and I hadn't felt that feeling in a long time, I'll tell you that. 'Cause, when I was selling real estate, I felt that way early on, and then, and I still feel that way here, like, I drive in the morning and I can't wait to get here, you know what I mean? And it's not why I want to find our next leader. By the way, that might look like me sticking around and working with that person for quite a long time. So I'm not, it's more about who's the person that's really gonna be the right person to take us to the next level and give us something we can really be proud of, Take us to number one. The foundation's here.
Oh, yeah, I agree. I mean, I'll tell you, I would love to be grown into that.
Okay.
I missed the leadership role for me I've done it. When you do it for 20-some years and you come from organizations like we come from, you miss that leadership side. It's definitely something I would love to be grown into a team leader. But, I still think that the focus has to be what the owner's intent is to grow the organization. And that has to be the number one.
I will
If it's
agree
not
with you.
that,
We had somebody a while back that
Vision.
did not succeed in the role, and it was interesting. There was an ALC member at the time that I called that day as I was making calls to say we've got to change. And that person's response was really astute, I think. They said, it's that person never made your vision their vision.
Yep.
And I was like, you're right. And so then that created, friction. So, like, I was clear on that when I did that job. They explained to me, you know, it was like being a CEO. And I was like, okay, well, that means I answer to the board of directors, and my job is to make the shareholders want more money, you know, grow the company. That was what I wanted to do.
There's absolutely no doubt in my mind that this office, I mean, I'm looking out the window and just look at what you're looking at. You know,
The skyline
hills. I
changed
mean,
from here,
this
yeah.
used to be a dump when I was a kid. I mean, a dump. You know, I mean, you didn't even come out this far. It's like, oh, that's out in the sticks. You know, to go into Ravenscroft or whatever, like you didn't drive out this far. And now it's like the place to
The place to
be.
be. Kane's changed it.
Yeah, and we need to.
It
that's a
shows you
springboard for
what
us.
happens when somebody with some vision shows up in something, right?
I just think you just really need to get real clear on what the goals and the objectives and, you know, for the market center for you, I think it's a combination because your clarity obviously is the market center, but I don't know, I just think that really spelling it out and making sure you're checking those boxes.
Right.
What's the next step?
I mean, I've been looking and I have, you know, I'm starting to develop a small pool of candidates. I mean, ultimately, like, what I feel like I should have been doing in hindsight better than I did over the last couple of years, I feel like I was so focused on just the role of facilities and work part and do the job. I don't feel like I did enough to build a bench of people. Like if I really were to go.
You were focused on fixing the problem.
Right. And therefore, like in an ideal world, just through coaching, consulting, recruiting, I would have a network of people where I'd say, hey, there's 10 people I know now from my last 2 years experience that could come in and be a team leader. And now it's go, which one's the right one, which one wants the job. And I don't feel like I've done that super well, if that makes sense. You know what I mean? Like I know people and I have people on my radar that I know that I've met with and stuff like that I'm talking to, but I don't feel like I'm a big enough bench or as big as I want it to be. Like if you, like, you know, if you airdropped me into another fourth place where I don't know anybody, right? Somebody tried to hire me to be a team leader or wherever, and you just airdropped in. I mean, my goal would be in 2 years, I've identified my replacement, right? So that I can, because one thing we have as a rule in Keller Williams, like generally, like you can't move up until you have found your replacement.
Yeah, you can't grow either.
Right.
You're basically stuck here.
Well, I love being here and I always will be here. And I get called, I'm been called about a big opportunity right now. And my answer is kind of like, well, I don't really have, you know, I can't add another thing right now because I don't have enough help here yet, so.
Do you think it could be a networking situation?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think I mean, like, you know, there are other things I probably could have been doing. It's just not my style though, to like go to the chamber meetings and stuff like that. But it's, you know, that's why I want help from you all. Because if you think of all the people I know, that's one thing. Think of all the people we all know, it's a lot.
Are we still members of the chamber?
Don't know.
What? And I should know this because I'm on the chair of the budget committee, but what does the,
Okay.
yeah, I mean, I know there's fluctuations
So,
depending on.
Generally, I mean, for the most part, team leaders are going to be in the, you know, low six figures. So there are some that are in the three.
Making $250,000.
Yeah, or more.
What's
There's some
like
that are
for
in the
this
three.
size market center, what are you thinking? 200?
I would expect somebody to come in, you know, maybe very early on mid ones with potential to grow quickly. And I mean, if there was somebody where like their financial thermostats there, Jeremy and I can make a plan where like if they do X, Y, and Z, here's your, you know what I mean? Like here's your first 12 months money. Like I can, we're close enough where if somebody said that's their number, I can make them a plan where if they hit their
So 140, 150,000.
plus and then growing. I've always just kept it simple. I just base it on profit. So they grow the profit, they make more money.
And that's a good way to do
Because
it.
then the profit and profit share, right? If they're
They
growing
have
your profit
holidays
share.
off, and
Well, that keeps them motivated
So you're
too.
thinking the
That gives
agent
them a
aspect.
carrot.
Right,
And they don't feel stagnant.
right.
They can always.
Oh, yeah,
grow.
they can, there are team
See,
leaders that
that's-
make really, really a lot of money in our company.
Yeah, that's right.
400,000 a year.
That's good for, because you're gonna get the more motivated people.
Right.
The drivers.
There are team leaders in our company that make more than regional directors in our company.
well, then you also have, if you're a really good team leader, then you have other
Right,
opportunities.
other things show up.
Mhm.
And then it becomes, how do you keep them?
Right.
Because in their end, you want to keep them. So what is, again, it goes back to their intent, right? Because everybody makes their decision based on their agenda, right? So you have to determine as
And there are
the owner, what is
successful,
their agenda?
there are successful team, well, that's part of our interview process.
That's what I'm
right?
saying.
So, there are successful team leaders in our company that have been in their market center for 10, 12, 15 years. They love the job, it meets their goals, you know, it gives their family the life they want,
Yeah.
and they're still doing it, you know.
Right.
Melanie Kenneman in Austin, and
Amanda Price in Wilmington.
Amanda's been a team leader for like 12 years. Margot in Danville, California has been there, I think she's been there 15 years. So.
So how do you want us to help you? Do you want us to network? Do you want us
Networking,
to,
thinking of who, you know, also just start paying attention as you're doing deals, like is somebody, you guys know the profile.
Sure.
Usually high energy, sociable, fun, also high D, goal oriented, successful, you know, think of the qualities we're looking for as you're doing deals. Think about people you know as you're networking. As I post things on social media, like it, share, comment on it. Hey, well, you know what I mean? Just things like that. Because imagine what your profit share would look like if you had a team leader in your first level downline.
You could take.
It wouldn't look very good if you had this team leader in your first level downline. I don't have that many people in my downline. Because my style has always been to succeed through others. So, you know, everybody, like I've won recruiting awards and I only have like 2 people in my first level downline. So I've done it, you know, everybody who attracted to the company has named someone else. That's how I want it. It's what it's intended for. The profit share is not intended to be for a team leader. It's intended to be, it's really, 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 Gary created it for you all. It's for the ALC. You can choose to take advantage of it.
I think it's important that everybody at this table here does a better job keeping in touch during the month.
Yeah. Well, I do think that, I think this group right here would be a key role, and I think it would be more than just once a month.
Should we have like a little group text going or something where we're interacting a little more frequently?
So that kind of thing doesn't bother me, but I know some people really hate getting tagged on
Yeah.
group text.
Well, I'm just saying,
You could
that I
do like
think
a
this,
Slack channel.
you know, this is a key role of the success of the organization, is
Yeah.
this group right here.
Right.
You know, with just the committees and what, you know, their specialty of what's going on in the organization. And that plays a key role in the leader that takes the organization.
Right.
And I think once a month is, I don't know, tough.
No.
No, I don't think so. My opinion.
So what would that look like then to make it? Would it be a meeting once a month and then a once a month thing that's a little more social, like a lunch?
Yeah.
Or
I think we
don't know.
need to do more social stuff as a group, yeah, I really do.
Conversation, actually.
and I've been thinking a lot this month on
Like greasy spoons.
what, you know, what is missing in the center. And I think one of them is that social factor just for the office in general too. You know, but I was gonna say, I wanted to step up to the plate to try and maybe organize a couple of things for the office.
We love that.
Because I think we really need it.
We love that.
I just need to know.
Well, and look at the turnout we've had for our last couple like get together events, out on the front lawn, the hot dogs and stuff. There's a ton of people there.
That was great. And
People are starved for the opportunity to get to hang out.
they like it. And you know what? It gives everybody in the office a chance to talk to a lot of different people. Like maybe some of the new people get to talk to some of the more seasoned people that they, you know, don't see all the time or whatever. I just think that that would be a really good thing for our office.
I found there are a ton of agents who don't even know who's on the ALC, don't know what the ALC
Well,
is.
because, you know,
Can I ask you, can I be real direct? Are you all attending the team meetings?
I do,
No.
I do.
The other thing
Just
is like,
Hey. That's a good point, absolutely.
me and
Well, here's the
Jeremy,
other thing. Remember, you all are the
Yes,
leaders.
makes
The
sense.
cool kids, nobody's gonna come.
but like me and Jeremy, we've been working with Superior School of Real Estate. We're trying to set up a network thing to recruit either brand new agents who had never been to school yet. Some of y'all may have seen the discount code that applies for Superior for all of their courses, right? So we're thinking some different things, but I kind of pushed him into that, doing the food truck, right? Making Superior School of Real Estate pay for our food truck to do a career night here.
Yep.
And in my opinion, I think that night, if we do that, if we have a bunch of new agents or people that have never been to school yet, so that's what a lot of them will be. They even talked about raffling off one free course for pre-licensing class. Like literally just, hey, who's here? Put your name in a hat and draw a name out. So imagine what that brings in. But I think that night, I think the ALC needs to be here as a group.
Yeah,
You know,
when is that?
well, we're working it right now. We literally just sat with him yesterday. And that's a night where, because we're talking to new people. We want them to go to the Superior School of Real Estate because they're helping us sponsor. But we also want them to come here. We want them to hear the culture of the organization. We want to hear about, hey, this is kind of what the profit share can do for you, right? We want to hear the stories to get them to go, hey, I'll go to school and I want to be a KW agent.
I have a suggestion, because we're talking about opportunities for us to reconvene. What if we create, I know it's hard to get us all to do something, but if those of us who are available every Friday morning at like 8:30 do like a 20-minute mastermind. Hop on the computer, do a Zoom call, 20 minutes, nothing more than that, but we should already be doing masterminds one day of the week.
I like that, and the reason I like it is, it allows us to talk to each other, the leaders.
Yeah.
Hey, this is what I'm working.
Right.
Hey, if you could help me, or hey, put this out to your.
Well, here's-
Have y'all ever come
another
across
idea.
this before?
So I wanted to get back, we had started doing it for a little while, but again, back to what the perfect team, like what I intend to do is, and my calendar is already blocked this way, because when my replacement comes in, guess what they're going to take over? My calendar, right?
Capper Mastermind.
Capper Mastermind,
Those are great.
and who should be sitting right in that, right? Like, obviously, you guys.
Well,
And-
another thing is I've got vendors that are knocking on the door to be able to take you guys to like a top 20% lunch every month. And
All right,
I don't want to tell them that, hey, we're gonna meet here and expect 30 people and 5 people show up.
all right, so what if we had a special mastermind here once a month that's for cappers only, it's invite only,
And they bring lunch and
and we have food, and then you guys come, and then you guys get the other cappers.
I was gonna say, if each of us, if the 6 of us bring four other people.
Right.
Right.
Well, full room, I'll tell you when I quit doing it. The last time we had one, I was in this room by myself, talking to the camera, and all the people on the monitor behind me, and I was like, this is not what I intended, you know what I mean?
That sucks.
It didn't feel very interactive, it was really weird, and I guess I just quit doing it, so.
I think Zoom has really,
All right,
I don't
here's
think
what we're gonna do.
it's for us.
So one thing we're starting to do is, we'll always have Zoom training, like pivot there, COVID has changed things, right? We will always have things online and stuff like that now. We have agents that live all over the place now, Goldsboro to, all over.
Fayetteville.
So we will always have things online, however, perhaps as Capper Mastermind, to make it special, it needs to be in person. It's not Zoomed, it's not recorded. And the other reason I like that is I want it to be a place where you guys feel safe talking about a challenge or something, and that means it's not recorded, it's not on video, right? Like you can talk about some struggle you're having in business and not feel like it's gonna end up on the 9 o'clock news.
It's like Supreme Court, new cameras.
Right. So if we get that back on the calendar, is that something you all would commit to playing at a high level?
Yeah, I'm way more interested.
Yeah. Which one was that?
The Capper Mastermind one.
Can it be a certain day of the month? so
Yes, it
we
would always be
can
the same.
plan
It would always be the
on-
same.
Yeah, because I think that's
It would
important.
always be the same.
That
Maybe
way
you
it
can
can
get
be
Yeah.
on your calendar.
Well, you brought up this group right here, a monthly meeting, and then maybe a monthly social plan for just this group, right? Why can't we just rotate that by person and that person sets it up for that following month?
Yeah.
Hey, they
Yeah.
plan something. It could be anything, right?
You want to go race go-karts?
Level
or play
7,
putt-putt
bowling,
or-
go-karts, yeah.
You know, something that everybody, you know, but again, you know, I mean, I'm not a golf player.
Did you volunteer for
I go
August?
knock the crap out of it.
Did you volunteer for August then?
I don't care, I'll do it. I mean, that's what I'm saying, but it's gotta be this group, right? It's gotta be, we gotta commit to each other,
Because
because
who else is in the group?
Gina, we're just missing Gina.
Okay.
She has a closing.
So, okay, so Jamie, will you plan something for us to do together for August? Okay. And if you ever need it, guys, so one thing I did.
y'all wanna do it on a Friday or Thursday? Give me a date.
My calendar is completely time blocked and Jeremy has access to it too. So you can come to me and
I'd say
not that he's my
Fridays, as long as I'm
secretary, but
It's like
you can see my
Friday.
calendar.
What's that? What Thursday?
I mean, what if you're going out of town early or something?
That's true. You actually do.
Oh, you got a camper now, look at it.
He's got a camera.
Oh, you got a camper now, look at it.
He's got a place at the beach, is what he's got.
Yeah.
Yeah, Thursday's good too. That's when we get Reese's Space. So y'all gonna do it like the afternoon.
I love the Greasy Spoon, man. I think y'all ought to try to come to that. With this week, it's at Piper's Tavern.
Yeah.
Which is a really good
Real
place.
close.
I mean, and he's been doing that for years. And it's just a good little social thing and
So it's funny, we can have some days where it's just 6, and then back when it was really popping before COVID, you'd have like 30 people show up. I would say we on average get about 10, which is great. I mean, 10 is great because you can really get into good conversations. I'd like to see some new faces. The last one we did was great because we had some new people and some old people and kind of a good mix, and Scott showed up and we had a great group there and a good time, good food got there quick.
So maybe that's something that at team meeting, we need to say. Because
Stand up and
I'm gonna be honest
proselytize,
when
yeah.
I say, a lot of times I feel like, I don't know what else going on.
Oh, yeah.
Because
We're
it's
struggling
this email, this
with
count, there's
communicating,
too many
yep.
things going on.
We
That's what I
just
think.
put a survey out about communication. We're trying to figure out how to communicate
Didn't have a
with
lot of response.
300 different people.
Yeah, it's hard, I know it's hard, I know it's.
Well, the one thing I've always known is you have to communicate the same message multiple times in multiple channels, right? So not everybody reads their email.
can you send a text to 220 people?
We can get a system that does that. So far.
Just for company announcements. Like,
Yeah.
Get them to share the main calendar, that's all you need.
It's expensive.
Control
It's
it.
expensive.
Is it?
But yeah, there's lots of
So we
ways to do
found
it.
a one that could do it for free, but our company that we have our phone system through doesn't
So it
cooperate
would be
with
a
it.
different number.
So, yeah, it'd be like, you know, if you sign up for like,
5-digit number.
yeah, it's gonna be like a 646 dash something kind of thing. So what we did at my old office is we would just have people program that number into their phone,
Like
like
when
say
they
it as a
on
contact.
say KW Raleigh.
And is it just Keller Williams Durham or Keller Williams Elite, and
Yep.
that it just popped up on their phone as that number. So,
Or like KW announcement or
So
something.
we'll pre-deployment, everybody came in, you had to have all your stuff laid out, they
Yeah.
validated everything.
Yeah.
All right, everybody has to come to office, get your phone out, put this number in, just mandate it.
We had pagers when I was in.
Well, then there are ways around that. We just make prizes and contests, like we're gonna send out a thing, and if you respond quickly enough or know what it is, then you're gonna win.
I think
So-
if we could do that, I mean, honestly, a lot of realtors I'm very much like, oh, let's go to lunch.
Yeah.
Okay, like a lot of people, time blocking sounds great in theory and this and that, and Katie is very time blocked. I'm the exact opposite,
Most agents are impulsive, right?
right? So like, I don't, like,
Yeah.
even if I look at the calendar on Monday, so if you ask me 5 minutes later what the calendar said, I'd be like, I have no idea. I just
Yeah.
looked at it.
Yeah.
And I deleted it. Okay, I know that's bad, but I'm telling you some ghosts that are in my closet, right? I mean, that's,
So-
If we have a free way to send a.
I think the calendar, I'm sorry, is the easiest way. I download the calendar and I can look and see what's going on in the
Well,
calendar.
and this is, the
Right
point
there.
is, it has to be multiple ways, text, email, calendar, right? It has to be,
well,
you guys
I mean, I
just
think doing the
illustrated
Google
it.
Calendar was a great start with, because I mean, it's, if
Yeah,
you have a
It's on
calendar
my
on your
calendar.
phone,
Yeah.
you have a way to put our office calendar on there.
Like at the
See, I didn't know that.
And then I think I got an update and it kicked it out.
Like the last team meeting,
Right,
at the
right.
start of the team meeting, there were like 10 people here. It was once a month sales meeting, and there were like 10 people here.
That's
at the
embarrassing.
start. By the
That's
end,
what we
there was
just did, there
30.
was a lot of people in here.
I mean, I'm just talking about a couple weeks ago,
Last week.
last week.
Last week, yeah.
We started with literally like 10 people. That was what started the conversation about communication on the team, where it's like,
And then they start drizzling in.
Well, the other thing is too, I know we've talked about it before, and I know we gotta go, but it's, we've talked about like reaching out to some of these agents. We talked about it at probably 5 different meetings. Where is the phone list where I can
I will get that to you.
call
today.
some agents?
I'll get it to you today.
See, email it to all of us and say, hey, Morgan, you take these, you take
that's
these,
what the
you take these.
ALC in Columbia does that. They each have, 20 people or something.
What
And
if
then
I made it a
follow.
live document where you could just go onto the list and you could put your name that you called them so that no one else called them? And I'm not having to assign names.
That's fine.
And then we can just reset it and
Text,
everybody's
works, call,
done.
whatever you.
It'll have their email and phone number and their name.
Facebook
And
message.
then it will have a column that says who called, and you can put your name on there.
I need that profit share stuff too.
Okay,
Another thing that might just be interesting
does
is
that work?
other offices,
Right.
what are best practices?
We're,
across
we're
all
always,
these, what are
Make sure
best
it's up to date,
practices?
right.
and everybody struggles with a lot of
No, it'll be-
Yeah, of course. I mean, I can see why, but if we just maybe had, maybe like an ALC regional meeting where we're talking about things like best practices, so that,
We can start with the triangle at least.
What if we invite the ALCs from the other market centers over here for a meeting?
I
think
think
the
that would be
leadership- with
really
the-
good.
With the leadership teams too. We got enough room for that.
Let's go for it.
I think that would be, I don't know, then you'll get all kinds of ideas. What are you guys doing in your office that works or has worked or hasn't worked,
Cause I mean, that's
love
been
masterminds.
the big KW, like, what they've been focusing on is a lot of big markets like ours the KWs are separated. And these other virtual companies are coming in and tearing us apart because they're pointing at each other and saying, you can't be affiliated with this office and go sit in this office because you have a closing over here because they're not gonna let you kind of thing. Like, we really need to become.
Yeah,
So
which
the
is
new-
true.
The new CEO, Carl Liebert, so his whole thing, he's had us on this new thing, is one team, one mission, right? Company-wide, we're all one team on one mission.
When you get so big, it's just like the Roman Empire, you get so big and then you start to destroy yourself from within. Like a lot of people would argue that's what's going on in the United States right now. But Keller Williams is so big, #1 in the world, and then they're competing against each other. So they're starting to destroy
And
themselves.
we want to be one team, one mission.
Right.
But the cure to all that is the person at the top, the leadership on down. It
Absolutely.
doesn't have to be that way.
No.
So it's-
Well, that was the first thing, that's how I know Carl's the right guy. He came into the company, within a few months, he figured that out. Started talking about it. It'll take him long.
And that's a problem with franchises, I guess.
By the way, he's
They're
a
competing.
Naval Academy grad.
Yeah.
Well, that's another reason we did the James Shaw thing as a triangle. We're actually not in August, but September, we're having a huge party for the triangle for the top 20% at the Ritz.
Good. Cool.
So all the triangle.
For a mega camp or
No.
separate?
Separate.
When is
So
it?
most of us should be going to
I was gonna
that.
say, how's that 20% figured out? Is it 20% of the
Each market center.
total 20%?
No, each office. Another thing that I've also talked about with a couple of the other leadership is doing like a top 100 in the MLS for all of our Keller Williams and having like a special dinner like at the beginning of next year to honor those for for 2021 kind of thing.
Like Ginger Marine, like I can't say enough good things about her. Okay. I mean, she was here at one point, right? But, we mastermind with her all the time. Katie does.
Yeah.
So Katie is like, that's who you need to emulate. That's the one you follow.
Is she
Right.
ready for a team leader role?
You can talk to her.
See,
I don't know. That'd probably be a big no, but she's, I don't know. But that just shows you like we can be in this office and work with the people in other offices. We just gotta be, but I do feel like Keller Williams has gotten kind of cliquey. And I feel like our office, to be honest with you, I'll just say it, is a little cliquey. All right. And I'm not here enough probably to know because I'm stuck up in Wake Forest. But
With your click.
with my click, right? So when somebody else
Your
comes in,
tribe.
James comes into the office, I'm like, what the hell is James doing here?
I know,
Like,
right?
this is my
Why are you
freaking
here?
office.
This is my, I own this office.
You know, it's like, I'm just kidding. But so I think we gotta watch out for that. I think we gotta
Well,
do
that's
more.
getting back together, and that's honestly, these sales meetings we have, we do it once a month. The deal was once a month, and then kind of was, this place is full, overflowing out, and then there's 100 people in here once a month. And we all get together and hang out, have a meal together.
But some of your top brass, I'm just saying, if you know what I mean, some of your top people need to show up.
I agree, and it starts with this one. This is the first
That's fair.
group. So, I mean, I'll bet when I was the team leader the first time, ALC was in the front row at every sales meeting. Like, they were there early and they were in the front row, and
Yeah. Cool.
so. Thank you, guys.
We wanna help you. I mean,
I
we
know.
definitely wanna
I
help you.
know. Well, that's why I just decided to kind of do something different with this meeting today and ask you for help and tell you where I am and, you know, where we are. And thank you for that, so, for the opportunity to do that. And ultimately, this will help you. I mean, that's, you know, that's the idea. This will, having the right person will build your wealth and help your businesses.
That's our get to the next one.
Cool. Yeah, let's go to Piper
So-
Thursday. You said that email.
Clarify, to clarify.
Recap.
Yeah,
You go to that?
so what, tell us,
Breezy
three
speak.
things we
Okay.
need to do right now.
So
It's,
recapping,
it's just a social opportunity for us to get together, break bread. I would say that the goal is,
so when I just asked, what are the three things we need to take away and do from this? So what do you guys think they are?
Capper Mastermind,
Networking.
networking,
Networking, so Capper Mastermind, what else do you guys think?
reach out to people,
Together.
internal networking. Like I said, making calls to agents in the office.
Okay. What else do you think?
And
I
then
think us networking